Welcome all to this session on protecting trust across new frontiers. I'm Simon Hunt, EVP of Mastercard. My role in Mastercard covers everything from the plastics your credit cards are made of, the physical security measures on them, the way fraud is measured, the fraud is reported, all the way up to cybersecurity products which the world uses to protect themselves against cybercriminals. I'm going to spend a few minutes introducing why Mastercard cares so much about this. Then I'm going to hand over to my colleague Kelly White, who's going to give you a demonstration of our cybersecurity technology, and after which there'll be plenty of time for Q&A to dig into this subject more. So let me start by talking about how the world's changed over the last 10 years or so. We've gone from a very simple environment, or a simpler environment, where the four parties, you, your bank, the merchant, and the merchant's bank, all collaborated to do a payment. You put your card into a device that was very well designed, curated, approved, certified, and all the participants in the payment network were very mature, very established technologies. Now, of course, we want to consume and pay and do shopping anytime, anywhere. It's a very diverse world, and especially given the benefits of IoT. We want to use our Amazons and our Google devices to buy things. We want to consume Netflix on the train. We want to purchase and participate in the digital economy in all kinds of ways. And that's created a huge disruption on all the different parties necessary to keep all these things going and keep all these great experiences alive. And of course, that's given opportunities for the cyber criminals to get involved as well. Cybercrime at the moment is around $1.5 trillion a year. That's a huge sum of money that's going into the criminals' pockets and has been used for further crime. We've moved from a time when organized crime was funded by the drug trade to it now being funded through cybercrime, which is a worrying place to be, because if we want these great experiences, we also don't want to be facilitating criminal activity as well. This is really important to Mastercard because if you think about all the ways that you consume data through payments or personal information, your IoT devices, your appliances, and all the way businesses want to do payments, business to business, corporate, travel, administration, marketing. There's a lot of intersections, a lot of challenges, and so much data is created now that keeping track of all this, keeping it all together is becoming a growing problem, and one that Mastercard is deeply, deeply involved in solving. And of course, everybody participating in this conference has a part to play in this problem. We look at this, we try and solve this for four particular reasons. Firstly, we secure the ecosystem. So we run massive AI systems that look at every transaction that's made and try and eliminate the ones that are obviously fraudulent and obviously coming from criminals. And that's billions of dollars of solved or saved fraud a year just through monitoring the transaction and monitoring the payment networks. We also, of course, monitor to make sure they're correctly configured and that the criminals can't exploit the underlying networks that the payment systems use. We also want to protect people's cyber environments because the last thing we want is businesses failing because they fell foul to cyber criminals. We want to ensure that every small and large business keeps working, keeps running, keeps providing goods and services. We do a lot of work on standards. Standards ensure that nobody gets an unfair advantage by being lax at cybersecurity, and that everybody in the payment network plays equally and participates equally to ensure the criminals are kept out of the way. The standards, are difficult, uncomfortable sometimes, but they ensure that everybody plays their part. And creating those standards which are fair to everyone is part of the payment network's obligation. And finally, we're not isolations here. We play in the digital economy the same as everybody else. So we need to collaborate. We need to ensure that people devising new experiences, be they IoT or network or video or entertainment, that the payment network is ready to accept those and ready to support them and to ensure that they're facilitated. My final point is, why does Mastercard care so much? And the question really comes down to what can we do to protect, on a global scale, companies from cyber criminals? How can we help the small street merchants all the way up to the multinationals protect themselves? And one of the ways we believe we can do that is ensuring that everybody has great, detailed, actionable cybersecurity information that they can use to protect themselves, to invest wisely in cybersecurity products, and to thwart the criminals. One of the ways we're doing that is through a product we call RiskRecon, a product we call CyberSecure. And with that, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Kelly White, the CEO, who is going to talk to you about how these things work. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. My name's Kelly White. I'm the CEO and technical founder of RiskRecon. RiskRecon's mission is to make it easy for you to understand and act on your cybersecurity risk for your own enterprise and also for your larger ecosystem of vendors and partners that you depend on for delivering systems and services to your customers. Oftentimes, these partnerships involve sensitive data that you're sharing. And it's important that this sensitive data is not only protected within your own enterprise, but also within the systems of your vendors and partners. I'm going to provide you a 10-minute demonstration of the capabilities of the RiskRecon platform that deliver on our value proposition to make it easy for you to understand and act on your cybersecurity risk in your own enterprise and in your larger ecosystem. In this example, our company is Galactic Alliance Storage, and we have 15 other important vendors and partners that we depend on. We've engaged RiskRecon to continuously assess and monitor the cybersecurity performance of our own company and these 15 important vendors and partners so that we can make sure that we and our partners and vendors are doing a great job in managing our cybersecurity risk. When we log into the RiskRecon platform, we're greeted with a dashboard. The portfolio performance summary provides us quick insight into how we're doing. It looks like we've got some room for improvement. Some companies on an A through F rated scale are doing well. 3 are getting an A and 2 are getting a B. That's great. But we're immediately concerned that 5 of the companies are getting a D and 2 are getting an F. These should be prioritized in our work for managing risk. Next to that, RiskRecon shows us that Udrain Galactic University has had a number of data breach events that should raise red flags to us as well. Before we take a look at this larger ecosystem, let's take a look at our own enterprise and see what RiskRecon has to say about our cybersecurity performance. I'm going to go to my company and click on Galactic Alliance Storage. Here, RiskRecon provides us an overview of our performance. The trend line tells us that we've been pretty flat over the last year. Fortunately, we haven't been getting worse, but unfortunately, we haven't gotten better either. The security domain ratings below the trend line tell us how we're doing in each of the important security areas that RiskRecon assesses. It looks like we could use some improvement in software patching. And boy, we're getting F ratings in application security, web encryption, and network filtering. We'll certainly need to dive into the details of those and see what's going on. RiskRecon also provides a risk priority matrix that summarizes all of the issues based on the dimensions of issue severity and asset value. This makes it easy for us to identify the most important things for us to address that are causing our greatest risk exposures. In the upper right here, we see there are 3 unsafe network services that are critical severity issues that exist in high-value systems. These issues in the upper right are the ones that we should address first because they expose us to the greatest risk. It looks like there's also a couple of other high-severity issues that exist in high-value systems. We have some unpatched web servers and also some unsafe network services that we need to take a look at. Issues in the lower left of the matrix are less important, so we want to address the things in the upper right first. Let's go ahead and take a look at the details more closely. The security profile provides us the details for each area. For software patching, the trend line shows that we've actually gotten better in this area, but there's still some issues that we need to address. Clicking into that tile, we can see that we have unpatched application servers and also web servers that we weren't aware of. RiskRecon provides the full details of each issue: the software, the IP address, the host name in which the issues exist. It even shows us the number of days the issues have been open. Wow, this Glassfish server has been running on galacticonline.com for 710 days, and it has critical severity issues. We really need to get after that. If we need more information, RiskRecon has that available to us. We just click on the plus sign and we can see the issue details and more information about the host profile if we need it. Let's scroll down and take a look at the unsafe network services that RiskRecon called out on that risk priority matrix. Clicking into network filtering, we can see that there's 4 issues that RiskRecon's calling out. Wow. We have 3 systems that are running MySQL databases out on the internet. Those could contain sensitive information that we need to address. MySQL can also, if compromised, provide an avenue by which attackers can gain deeper access to the system and to our network. RiskRecon makes it easy for us to share this information with those in our enterprise who will address the issues. We can either give them access to this portal so that they can see the issues here and manage those directly, or we can share with them the action plan that contains just the subset of issues that are most important to address. We can share the action plan from here, either online, just by simply putting in their name and email address, or we can download the PDF of this report. And again, in both scenarios, it contains all the information needed to address the important issues that RiskRecon is identifying in our enterprise. I'm really glad that RiskRecon risk prioritizes all of the issues automatically so that we know the subset of the issues that matter most, those issues that are in the upper right. As we address those issues, we'll see our associated grade and the trend line improve so that we can monitor how we're doing. That's our own company, Galactic Alliance Storage. Let's go back to the dashboard and start thinking about our partners. We recently received a security questionnaire for Blackwater Systems. That questionnaire came back clean, which we're glad that Blackwater Systems thinks they're running a good, solid cybersecurity risk program. Let's see what RiskRecon has to say about them. Wow. RiskRecon's rating Blackwater Systems as an F. And as we show here, Blackwater Systems is a critical vendor to us. Blackwater Systems getting an F doesn't really square up with their clean responses to our cybersecurity questionnaire. In that questionnaire, we asked important questions like, how are you doing in managing software vulnerabilities or filtering unsafe network services from access to the internet? It looks like in these areas of software patching and network filtering, RiskRecon's rating them as an F. So the questionnaire says they're clean, but RiskRecon's analytics of their environment says otherwise. Let's take a closer look. RiskRecon shows 4 issues, 2 in application server patching and 2 in web server patching. It looks like they have 2 systems running old versions of PHP that have critical severity issues. If we want to see the details of those issues or other information about the systems, we can simply click on the plus sign. It looks like they also have some web server patching issues. They're running old versions of Apache 1.3. That certainly doesn't support Blackwater's claims that they have a great software vulnerability management program. Another one of our question areas for Blackwater Systems was in web encryption. It's really important that sensitive data is protected in transit across the internet. RiskRecon's giving them an F. It looks like they're running some systems with old encryption protocols and also broken encryption certificate subjects. In this case, blackwater.com.vn, their mail system, is running an old version of SSL version 3. Everybody's supposed to be up to TLS 1.3 or better because SSL version 3 has critical vulnerabilities. It looks like they also have some broken encryption certificate subjects that they need to address. RiskRecon's analytics make it easy for us to understand the cybersecurity performance of Blackwater Systems through the objective data that RiskRecon continuously collects and analyzes for us. And it's very useful that it's all risk contextualized so that we know which issues matter most. RiskRecon also makes it easy to act on those issues. I simply click on the action plan, and automatically that action plan is populated with the most important issues that exist in the Blackwater environment. It contains all of the details necessary to understand and address the issues. To share this with Blackwater Systems, I just simply click on Share Action Plan, type in the name and email address of my contact, and share it with them online. Or I can download the PDF report for my own records and share it with them in that manner. Managing cybersecurity risk is not easy. It requires collection and analysis of large amounts of data. RiskRecon makes it easy to understand and act on risk for your own enterprise and also for your important third parties and partners. It's been really great sharing the RiskRecon platform with you. We hope that we get to talk with you in the near future. Thank you.
So Kelly, great story on Galactic Alliance storage. They look like
Thanks.
they're not doing so well.
No.
So while we wait for questions in the audience, where does third-party cyber risk measurement going? I mean, we seem to have a really good angle and a good amount of control on looking at our partners and our vendors. What's next for this kind of market, do you think?
Yeah, I think there's that in the business world, there's a lack of transparency and an effective mechanism for communicating trust, cyber trust, between organizations where there's critical dependencies. And so the cybersecurity risk ratings are really on the cusp of taking hold globally, where in our studies in the United States, between anywhere, probably around 20% of companies are using cybersecurity ratings and associated assessments to manage their partner risk and also to communicate their trustworthiness. So there's still a lot of room for organizations to better understand and communicate their cybersecurity posture to others. And so cybersecurity ratings are going to fill that role as we continue to add more dimensions of measurement and assessment, and as those ratings become more common in business relationships.
Interesting.
Simon, a question for you, as we've been rolling this out across the world, looking at millions and millions of merchants, what are some of the common failures you see in cybersecurity that small and medium-sized organizations have?
Yeah, so small businesses usually fail in the same way people fail. It's password reuse, phishing, and unpatched software. You know, the really basic stuff, and it's frustrating because this industry is now 50 years old, and yet we still kind of don't get the basics right. So that's usually how, you know, the things, you know, when a small business says to me, what do? I always say, pick a good password strategy, don't reuse your passwords across systems, patch your software, and educate yourself and your employees about phishing. Business email compromise, you'll probably hear about it, is, you know, where the criminals convince you to send money to the wrong places. It's just the classic way small businesses fall victim to cybercrime.
You know, as practitioners, I think we often take for granted the basics of cybersecurity.
Yeah.
But I think that the basics of cybersecurity are actually quite difficult to people who are not experts in the area, having to patch systems, to worry about what types of network services are listening on the internet. Is my database exposed to the internet? Do people have the right passwords? And so forth. And so I think that the big opportunity for this century, or well, hopefully it's this decade, is to make cybersecurity risk management approachable for all enterprises.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Micro, small, medium, and large.
Yeah.
To make it easier. Not everybody can afford a chief information security officer or an expert team of engineers who can continuously assess and fix issues in the environment. And I see that as the big mission that the cybersecurity industry has to deliver on in this decade. We have to, because so much of the world depends on a secure internet and computing platforms for operating every detail of life.
Couldn't agree more, Kelly. And I think it's in the same way that Apple and Google made compute accessible to the masses via the tablets and the phones. Now's the time for cybersecurity to catch up as well. We need to demystify it, make it simpler, purely because so many new businesses are joining the digital revolution now. It's time. We're ready for that simplification. Luckily, the criminals are not doing complicated things. They're preying on basic weaknesses. If we could all be a little better at the basics, we could really affect their ability to act and compromise us.
And Simon, I think that's the most exciting part about Mastercard's work in building out this global ecosystem with the RiskRecon technology, is that we're working to make cybersecurity risk accessible so that it's easy to understand and act on risks using automated assessment techniques that are built on machine learning.
Vision to equal the playing field, to make sure that every business understood what every cyber criminal already knows.
What percentage of attacks or compromises, I should say, do you think would be eliminated if the most basic issues were addressed?
It's difficult to quantify, but I will tell you a story that there was a very major attack last year against a big airline, and from the same attack. So take that as an order of magnitude. One big business, 25,000 small ones. It's a huge order of magnitude. And that wasn't a particularly complicated attack either. It was one that technologies like RiskRecon would have easily pointed out. So the vast majority, I would say, of attacks on businesses could be solved with due care and attention. And that would dramatically change how expensive and difficult it is to be a cyber criminal. I think it would be a revolution.
While we're on the topic of expense of being a cyber criminal, any thoughts on the ransomware industry and how to make it less profitable for criminals to do these things?
Yeah, don't pay, I think, is what I would love to say, and I know that's really hard if you're a victim. It's really hard to follow the don't pay, but every victim who pays up funds the criminals to attack somebody else. Everyone who pays up incentivizes the criminals to try again. It's really tough. Again, if you look at where ransomware comes from, it's phishing. You know, the vast majority of ransomware attacks happen with phishing. Best solution for phishing, education. Just giving people skepticism not to click on that link. You know, you get an email saying, click here to see puppies.